Hello, and welcome to another episode of Between the Covers. If you're watching for the first time, hello, my name is Daniela Bleckner. I'm an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there in the form of professional books. On the bookshelf behind me here and here are just some of the 150 plus books that we've published over the last 6 years. I'm absolutely passionate about providing a platform for unseen, unheard authors. Hey, Vanita, so they can have their voices heard and stories shared, so they can educate, inspire, and entertain and empower for generations to come. I'm absolutely passionate about what I do. I get to work with so many amazing people, and I'm going to be speaking with one of these amazing people right now. But for those who've never watched the show before, what is this show all about? And why is it called Between the Covers? So it's called Between the Covers because it's about investigating what goes on between the covers of creating a book. So often we might look at a book and think, oh, this is a good book. I've really enjoyed that. But we don't understand the journey it takes to actually create, publish, and distribute that book. The whole journey that goes into writing it, pouring your heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into that book. So it's also a platform for you to, it's very interactive. So do please ask my guests some questions. It's also a platform where I interview industry experts in the publishing industry so you can learn a bit more about the process. Today, I'm very, very excited, just coming up for air. We have had some really good press and it's all happened very, very as randomly the word it's just happened. So I'll explain a little bit about what's been going on. I barely use Twitter. It's not my most used platform. I don't have that many friends or followers, and somebody found me on Twitter and they said, we love the work that you're doing, can you do an interview with us and speak about what you do, and can you bring some of your authors on as well? And I thought, okay, who best to bring on for this? It's all about children's books, representation, the importance of ensuring that representation within children's books is represented. It's not what I meant to say. It's all about how to reflect the reality of the diverse world that we live in. When I was growing up, I didn't get to see any books that featured anyone that looked like me, anyone that had my story or my hair or my color or my background or my race. And I think things are changing. And part of why I set this up was because there were so many people, diverse writers, who felt they weren't getting heard, or they weren't having their stories heard, or they weren't getting their voices out there. When they were getting them out there, their stories were told by somebody else, or it was being watered down or diluted. We published books from people from all over the world, all backgrounds, all races, all faiths, all anything, all ages, which is something we're going to talk about today. And I'm so proud of each and every author that we've worked with so far. So why am I excited? Our youngest author, Tiana Rose Ako-Ari, has written a book called My Afro, which came out in December 2021, last year. And it was all about celebrating her hair, celebrating her identity, and celebrating the differences and what makes us all unique. She wrote this at 8 years old. She came to us with about 3 different ideas, and we really honed in on this idea for her first book. And when she had her interview with us last week with the journalist, we didn't realize how far it was going to go. I thought it was just going to go on an online platform, and that was it. They mentioned it might go on the Evening Standard. We just didn't know. And I thought, okay, well, that'd be great. Hopefully they might take it up. There's no guarantees. So far, it's gone to the Independent, the Evening Standard, ITV Local, Channel 5. I've had my phone ringing. BBC have been calling. So it's been a really, really exciting time. To be 8 years old and do these major interviews is amazing. So she's just come off doing her interview for ITV Live. She's been on Channel 5, and she is just an absolute legend. So this is her book. It's Christmas. So if you know any children soul who would love this book, how could they not? It's called My Afro Twin Best Friend. So check her out. So as I mentioned, Tiana is our youngest author, and we published an array of different authors. So we're going from our youngest author, and I'm sure my guests wouldn't mind me saying this, to our eldest author. He is an absolute legend. Now, if you don't know what doo wop is, you haven't heard of doo wop music, you need to watch this, tune in and find out, okay? So I'm speaking to the awesome, amazing John Cheatdom, who has over 70 years experience and expertise in the music industry. We're talking 60s, 70s, 80s. He's gone across so many different political climates. He's traveled the world. He's met some huge names in the industry. So I'm going to read a bit about him and then invite him in. And if you have any questions for him, because I've got lots, so jump in, please do ask your questions. Who is John? Hailing from Brooklyn, John's professional music career began in 1953 when his group was originally formed as the Troubadors in the Bedford, I can't say this word, I'm so sorry, John will correct me, Bedford-Stuyvesant area of Brooklyn, New York. At the tender age of 18, John's first American tour was in 1956 with Ray Charles. You heard that right, Ray Charles, the Moon Glows, and the countless other groups. Having toured the world over the course of 70 years, John has witnessed pivotal historical and political events such as apartheid in South Africa, the Black Power movement, Belfast bombings, and the British invasion. I don't know what to say apart from wow. And what I haven't told you, and I'm sure John won't mind me saying his age, at 84 years old, he is still touring night after night. I get tired when my phone rings. He's touring night after night, performing to so many people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite him into the live. Hopefully this works. How could it not? So V, if you're on Instagram, I'm sending you an invite. And V, by the way, Veronica Banks, who was an author in her own right, she has been pivotal in actually making this come true and happen. So I've been liaising with her whilst John's been out there touring, entertaining internationally. I've been liaising with her to actually get this book complete. We've been working with each other for the last, it feels like about 8 months. So we'll get to speak with her as well. So V, if you could just come into the live on Instagram, that would be amazing. And of course, if you find this of worth and value, please do share this out with your network. Let them know. Ask your questions. Again, it's a very interactive show. Okay. So V, for some reason, I'm not seeing you on Instagram. I want to pull you into the Facebook Live and the Instagram at the same time. So I'm just going to wait for you to see me. Can you see me live on Instagram, V? We did a test a little bit earlier and it was all perfect. And by the way, this is going out live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. There you go. Instagram and LinkedIn all at the same time. So this is some serious multitasking going on, just to let you know. Here we go. So I'm inviting you, V, into the broadcast, John. Amazing. If you just mute your laptop while we do that, that would be fantastic. I shall mute mine. Hey, here we go. We did it. John, how you doing?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Danielle.
Evening. Can I just first of all just compliment you on your amazing jacket? I absolutely love it. Where did you get it from?
Funny enough, I bought it in a local shop, would you believe, in London.
Oh.
I was looking, I like, being on stage, I like loud clothes. And I was looking for a jacket for the cover of the book. And I walked into the shop and I saw this jacket. First thing I saw was this jacket. And I just said, I got to have that. So I bought the jacket and here it is.
The jacket is working for you. You've got lots of kind of like bright and colourful jackets, haven't you? So I've seen your CD cover. Hey, Leah. Oh, there's an echo on my sound. Okay. Thanks for letting us know. I'm going to just stop for a second so we can just get that sorted. Thanks for letting me know, Leah. I appreciate that. Is your computer on mute, John? Just double checking.
Yes.
Okay. Leah, is it any better now? Leah, if you can let me know, is a little better. So that means it's still not great. Okay. Bear with me.
How about now, Leah? Is that any better? So we want to make sure that the sound is perfect before we can hear anything. On Instagram, if you're watching, please do let me know if the sound is okay. Much better. Yay! Okay, fantastic. So, John,
Yes.
you are now a published author. We've done the second edition of your book, Keeping Doo Wop Alive. What I love the tagline: one man's story of strength, stamina, and survival as an international entertainer. How do you feel?
I feel great. I mean, you know, I mean, this book has been a labor of love for me for over the years. That from the time I first started, I kept writing things down. That, you know, they should see this or they should see that. You know, because there've been so many things that I've been involved in. You know, even in show business. You know, you get involved when you're traveling around. You get involved in so many things. You know, and the music business is always the first that you know, you always get the worst of whatever comes up, but you have to just brush yourself off and just keep going and just hope that it'll turn for the best. And I've had ups and downs over the years, but I've never regretted anything that I've ever done in this business. It's been wonderful, you know.
I mean, you're just amazing. Reading your book, the journey that you've been on, and we'll get into that in a bit, just the ups and downs and the successes and the falls and the changing of groups. John is the godfather or grandfather, I don't know which one to use. Which one do you prefer, John? Godfather or grandfather?
Grandfather, because I've got grandkids, so grandfather.
Okay, grandfather. He is the grandfather of Doo Wop. And if you don't know what Doo Wop is, John, can you tell us, for those who've never heard of Doo Wop at all? Because we've got all different ages.
Well, Doo Wop was a form of music that we used to perform on the street corners in Brooklyn, well, in New York, and probably all over the United States. But I'm talking about basically New York. You know, we have 5 boroughs. We have Brooklyn, we have the Bronx, we have Manhattan, and on every street corner there was a bunch of guys in the neighborhood. We used to get together, and we used to just start singing. And you know, one guy would be the bass. He would always be the one that starts the songs off. You know, doo wop, boom, 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 and then everybody else would come in with the harmony, and that's how we used to enjoy ourselves. You know, back in the day. You know, I mean, you forget. This is in the 50s and the late 40s, 50s. There was no TV. And we had to enjoy ourselves different kinds of ways. I mean, we had radio, and which was, I mean, the radio to me was fantastic because you were always able to use your mind. You know, you envision things. You know, if you watched The Lone Ranger or some kind of program on the radio, you always envision what these things were like. You know, unlike television, it's all there for you. So you know, you don't have to use your brain so much. It was the same in music. You know, we envisioned what it should sound like, and it was good. You know, it was different. I mean, we didn't have bands and stuff like that. It was all a cappella stuff. You know, but and then we used to have in each church in the neighborhood, the churches, we used to have singing contests in the churches, and we used to have these battles of the groups, and it was fantastic. only problem was we were in Brooklyn. We couldn't go to Manhattan because, you know, back when I grew up, there were a lot of street gangs in New York. So it was always basically we had to stay in our neighborhoods, you know, to do these things, you know. But we had fun, and that's what Doo Wop grew out of.
Amazing. Thank you. We've got a lovely comment here from Leah. She says some of the very best, capital letters, music, love it. The a cappella groups and quartets were still going when I was at university in the early 2000s. Awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. You know, I mean, a cappella is one of the great forms of music. You know, because you know, nothing's distorted, and you know, you don't have no music. It's just the voice. It's just pure voice singing. You know, and you know, and
none of that kind of whatever it is they use a synthesizer stuff now. That the lip syncing or the miming, none of that. No.
Oh yeah, when we were growing up, it was all real. There was no. I mean, we started recording. I mean, our first recording was in 1955. We recorded our first song, and back in those days, we sang. The band played. Everything was done at once. If the lead singer made a mistake in the group, we'd have to start all over again. The band would have to start all over again. You know, sometimes we used to do it 10, 8, 9, 10 times. I mean, our first hit record, Can I Come Over Tonight? We actually recorded that 13 times.
10 times?
13.
Wow. How many times?
13. To
13.
Get it. Yeah, 13
Wow.
because
So many.
yeah, because the lead singer he kept missing parts. He said, "No, it's not right. We got to do it again." And then the guys in the band would say, "Listen, you come on, guys. You know how many more times we have to do this? You know what I mean?" But I mean, it made you better. You know, you more prepared when we used to we go in the studio. After a while, we just go in there and 2 takes or 3 takes. It was all done. But at the beginning, it was difficult. You know, but it all came right in the end.
Did that rack up studio costs? Because time is money, right, in the studio. Was that quite pressurizing? You had to kind of make sure that each time you went in, it was.
Oh yeah, because I mean, there was no overdubs. I mean, there were no overdubs, and you say, well, we'll put this part in later on and all that. No, it was just that was it. What you heard was was exactly what was done in the studio, and it was great. You know.
Amazing. So, I mean, tracing back to discovering that you had a talent for singing. How did that start? Did that start in the church, or how did you discover that singing was your thing?
When I was 8 years old, that was 8 years old. That was 1946. My mother took me my mother used to go to the Apollo Theater in Harlem, and she went to see her and her girlfriend went to see Billy Eckstine, who was a great star at the time, Billy Eckstine. And on the show with Billy Eckstine was a group called the Ink Spots. And when they started singing, the lead singer had a very high voice. And when he started singing, my head just went. And I start smiling at my mother. You know, she says, "Oh," she called me. You know, my name is John Thomas. She said, "John Thomas, you like that?" I looked at her, I said, "Mom, that's it. You've done it. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Exactly what he's doing. That's what I'm going to do." And from that day, all I wanted to do was sing. And
8 years old.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All I want to do was
amazing.
Yeah. So in the church, I went to First Name Zion Church in Brooklyn, which is the largest Black church in Brooklyn at that time. And I was a choir boy. And I sang higher than most of the girls in the choir. And so the choir master said, "Listen, you're too good to be singing with the junior choir." So they put me in with the senior choir with the adult singers, you know. And I would sing with them, and twice a year, Easter, which is Easter, Mother's Day, are the 2 biggest Sundays in the church, in the Black church back in those days, Mother's Day and Easter. And our church held about 1,200 people doing those 2 Sundays. Father's Day, the church was always empty, you know. They didn't care much about Father's Day. And I used to do a solo, and the preacher used to say, "Oh, John Cheatdom, boy, that was great. we're gonna pass the envelope around and give them some money. So they used to pass this envelope around, and the envelope was too small, so they got a briefcase, and they passed this briefcase around the church. I think I got about $800, right? This is about 1948, 49.
Wow.
and so it became a normal thing. Mother's Day and Easter, right? So when I got about 12 years old, I told my mother, I said, listen, I said, my voice has changed. I'm gonna have to stop singing in the choir. She used to tell me, one more year. One more year. It was so funny, but that's where I got my musical education, singing with the choir. You know.
Amazing. That's amazing. We've got some lovely comments here. David here says, "Wow, what a privilege and what a treat! This is so great. Thank you both. Yeah, hang in. David's a music head as well. Fantastic. He says, no overdubs, brilliant. Oh, here we go. John says, my mum loved the ink spots if I didn't care.
That's right. That was one of my favorites. If I didn't care, would it be the same? Would my every prayer begin and end with just your name? And if this isn't love, then why do I thrill? And what makes my head go round and round? Why my heart stands still? If I didn't care, would it be the same? Would my every prayer begin and end with just your name? And would I be sure that this is a love beyond compare? Would all this be true if I didn't care for you? Yeah, baby, don't you care of me? That's it.
That's amazing too. Fill up your heart emojis. Come on, that was amazing. And we got a little free sample there. Brilliant. David said, yes. Oh my goodness. Oh wow, that's amazing. I love that. You've just gone straight from high to low. I don't know how you do that. No one needs to hear me. So that's great. Oh, David said you made me cry. Stay with us, David. Stay with us. So it all started when you were 8 years old. You discovered that you had a voice, and you sung tenor, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so from there, say around your sort of teenage years, where did you go from there? So you discovered you had this voice, and when did you kind of get into deciding, right, I'm going to really take this seriously and start singing a group?
Well, I put together my first group. I went to boys' high school, and I was singing in the choir. They were called the Melody Men, and a couple of guys in there. I said, "Listen, I want to put together a group," and so 4 of us got together. No, 5 of us got together, and we started rehearsing. And we sounded kind of good, so we entered a few singing contests, and we were offered a record contract in 1956 with Onyx Records, and we went in the studio. And our first song was called "My Love Come Back," and that was it brought our name out. The Velours, people start recognizing the name of the Velours, and then we went to the Apollo Theater. They invited us to come to the Apollo Theater to work. So we performed at the Apollo Theater 1956 for the first time, and we built up a very, very big following. And then our second recording, "My Love Come Back," it was pretty good, but it wasn't really a big hit. But our third release, "My Love Can I Come Over Tonight," went straight to number 1, 1957. That was a massive hit. Yeah.
So if you're watching, David, do you know "Can I Come Over Tonight"?
By the Velours. It's spelled Velours. The velour. Velour is a velvet hat, you know, and we took that name because it's smooth, you know, and we always called ourselves smooth singers, so we said velour would be suitable.
I didn't know that. Is that in French or? In what language does velours mean velvet?
Yeah. So that was our first massive hit record, straight to #1. And that year, I graduated from high school, 56. And 3 months later, we went tour with Ray Charles on the road.
You heard it here, Ray Charles. I'm going to stop you there because there's quite a few comments here. Leah's saying, impossible to grow up in the States and not know them. She's actually from the States. And you've heard of them, Leah? Wow. In fact, you may or may not know, depending if you've read the post, that John was actually in 5 singing groups. I'm going to try and remember them all. The Velours, the Fantastics, the Troubadors, the Magic Platters, and...
The Realistics.
The Realistics. That's it. 5 different singing groups. And when you read the book and you see how all of these groups were formed with the different people coming and going, it's just... I don't know how you did it, because it's not just about the music, it's about the coordination and the navigating and the managing of finding the right people to fit into that group. So how did you find, over those decades, you know, putting together these different groups and finding the right people for those groups?
Well, once we started touring around the States, you know, we met other singing groups, because you know we performed on shows with a lot of artists, you know, over the years, and so we had a stockpile of singers all over the place. So if one of my guys wanted to quit, retire, something like that, there was always another guy that I could find to fit in perfect, you know, to fit our style, because you know every group didn't sing the same way. We had a certain style of the way we sang. And I could always find a singer to replace the guys that left my group. You know, because sometimes you don't get the best singer sometimes, but you got to get somebody who blends in the group, because when you're working together and you touring around week after week, night after night, from hotel to hotel, especially back in the days when we were kids, because I'm talking about the 50s and the 60s, when we were working down south and you had all the segregation and you know, we were called all kinds of names, and I mean it was very stressful work, you know, working a lot of parts of America back in those days, you know, and a lot of guys couldn't take it, you know, because you had to have a lot of restraint, you know, to deal with these things. But saying that, even though as hard as it was touring like that, the music, it was so passionate. I mean, we were torn with all of these blues singers, rock and roll singers. You know, you had the Bobby Darrins and the Chubby Checkers and all those, you know, people we were singing with. And we were mixed, you know. There were white singers, black singers, white groups, black groups. We all got along fine. I mean, the music was sensational. And when I think about, when people ask me what was the greatest times, all the periods of the years that I worked, that I enjoyed the most, and I would say back in the 50s and the 60s, we never made money, and because we weren't thinking about it. I mean, when we were really thinking about money, my mother used to ask me, she says, you know, you've been on the road, and how much money did you make? I said, Mom, you know how many girls I had? Money. I was thinking about the money. I said, we'll make money later on. You know what I mean? Yeah. She said, God, and you know, of course, you know, all of us, we got thrown out of our houses. Because the first thing, as soon as we went to the Paul Theater, we changed our whole look. We went to went to the barber shop and we got our hair fixed with the with the slick, so we look slick on stage and with the waves, finger waves and all that.
The waves, that's it.
Yeah. So my mother said to me, she said, "How you gonna go to church looking like that?" I said, "Mom, church is finished. Get out." so
So you went from sort of like choir boy at 8 years old to discovering girls and women and a group and seeing all of this different life. So how was it when you kind of moved away then and had a completely different life in the music industry?
Oh yeah, it was rough. I mean, we went and got a flat, the guys, and we got a flat because see Brooklyn is is the largest borough in New York, but Manhattan is where all the action was, especially up in Harlem. So we went and we got an apartment in Harlem and we lived there while we was working. But then after a while, the problem with singing groups, I don't want to digress too much, but when you're struggling, trying to make it in the business, you stick together like glue. It's a wonderful situation. We all struggling, but once we get that first hit record, and then we start making a bit of money, and then here come the girls, and then that's when all the problems start. One girl's saying one guy, you better than him, or you can sing by yourself, and there's so many problems come up all of a sudden, out of this great group that we had, and then all these little cracks start coming up, and then the group breaks up. Then you got to get another guys, and it was crazy, but it was wonderful.
That's all in the book, because it's not just about the music; it's about the relationships and friendships and the loyalties and all these other things that you were talking about, the complications.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much I want to talk to you about. I mean, one of the huge things is that your whole music career spanned over 70 years. I mean, a lot has changed in 70 years. And you have got to discover and to be at the forefront of so many different political and historical, climates.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you've experienced in terms of like the political climate when you've been traveling and touring?
Yeah, well, I already explained that, doing the segregation in America when we first started out in the 50s, back in the 50s. But later on, in the 70s, we moved to the UK in 1967. We were invited to come over to England because they said the soul music was breaking out in England. So we came over to England as an experiment. Funny enough, the group had broken up, and I was a school teacher. I was teaching school, and I went to Brooklyn College, and I was teaching school, and Romeo was an undertaker, Dollar was a pharmacist, and we all got different jobs, and I hadn't seen the guys in about 3-4 years, and we got this gentleman rang me up and asked us, said, "Look, can you get your guys back together again? There's something going on in the UK." So I rang up the guys, and they were just as disillusioned as I was about, this family life. Family life is great, but our friends are getting hit records, and we sitting there. I'm sitting there with the wife and the kids watching TV, and I see my friends are getting all these hit records, and I'm just getting mad about it. Man, I said, "Oh my God, look what I'm missing," So we were invited to come to the UK. So we got together secretly because our wives didn't know anything about this, and we started rehearsing. We started rehearsing, and then we met this gentleman, and he invited us to go to the UK. So we just said, "Listen," told my wife, I said, "Listen, we were invited some special things going on in England, and we're gonna get together, go over there." So when we came to England, as soon as we got here, we were like instant success. It was like totally amazing, and we were invited to stay, but said, "No, we can't do that." We came over, we toured for about, I think we toured for 3 weeks, and went back home. And once we got back home, it wasn't the same anymore because we had to itch again. We got to get back on the road. So Peter Stringfellow, who you must have heard of Pete Stringfellow, the impresario from
Peter Stringfellow, yeah.
He rang me up And he said, listen, he says, I want to manage you guys. Can you get back to England? So I rang up the guys and said, listen, Pete Stringfield rang me. He wants us to come to England. What do you think? Are you crazy? A week later, we were gone. A week later, we were back in London, right? I mean, Pete lived in Sheffield, and we came back to England, and we started working. And he said, "Well, listen, you can't work as the Velours. You know, we got to give you a name." So we changed our name to the Fantastics. And he says, "Well, look, I got these gentlemen to wrote a couple songs for you guys." So we went in the studio, and we recorded a song, "Something Old, Something New," which was a smash hit in England. The Fantastic, you know, "Something Old, Something New." You heard of that song? Something old,
heard of Something Else, Something New. I know it.
Yeah.
Anyone else who's watching, Something Else, Something New? I think John's going to do a little song for us. Go on.
No, I just say something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. That's the song, and that was a massive hit record over here. So that established as stars in this country. So that was it.
So David knows the song. He says, fascinating. Janine, hello. I'm going to stop you there for a second because there's some new people that come on. So I'm going to reset and start again. I'm Daniela Bleckner, interviewing the awesome, amazing John Cheatdom. He is the grandfather of Doo Wop. He has a music career spanning over 70 years, starting when he was 8 years old, singing in a choir, tenor, very high. If you didn't watch the beginning, watch the replay because his voice is amazing. He's been in 5 different singing groups, and he is still touring at 84 years old. Amazing. John, over to you.
Okay. So in 1980, 1970s, I think it was 76, 77, we were playing in a club in Belfast, the Abercorn Club in Belfast. That was doing the Troubles over there.
Yeah.
And 2 girls came in. They came in with a bomb, and they set the bomb down. And they were supposed to come in and put the bomb down and leave. And we was on stage, and they saw us, and they forgot about the bomb. They sat down, and the bomb went off, and they got injured really bad. I think they lost their legs. And there's a document. Yeah.
This was at your venue.
Yeah.
Where you were singing.
Yeah, the Abercorn Club in Belfast. Yeah. And
Wow.
then it was so horrific that we met up with the peace people and started talking about having a benefit show or something for to try to help these people out, these girls. And Granada Television got involved, and they heard about what we were going to do, and they came over to Ireland, to Belfast, and they recorded the whole 2 weeks, because the fact is that the IRA wanted us to sing at one of their clubs because they couldn't go downtown. So we went to an IRA club and we sang, even though the government said you can't do that, but we did it anyway. And then, of course, then we had to go to a Protestant club and sing. And we did that too. And they recorded the whole 2 weeks that we were over there doing these things, right? And of course, I'll show it the Abercorn. And so they released this documentary called Realistics in Belfast. And it came out in America and a few places around the world. And we became overnight hits, success, the Realistics. We became overnight stars, and we were touring all these places. And people say, "Well, what hit record do you have?" We had a hit record. We had a hit documentary, which is bigger than a record, right? And we started touring the world, and then we were invited by Channel 4 started. And they had this big musical show they were going to put on, and they invited us to be part of this musical show called Unforgettable. So we came back off tour, and we went in and we recorded songs for this show. And even though Channel 4 was brand new, and a lot of people didn't watch it back then, the show lasted for 3 years. and that was very successful. But the documentary Realistics of Belfast, you can see that in the CD, the DVD that I produced also, along with the book, a DVD and a 30-track double CD with all the music that I've recorded over the years with the different groups that I have, right? So you can see that there. And then then I went to South Africa. We went to South Africa.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of success down there in South Africa because they wanted us to work in it was during apartheid, and we were working. We went to Sun City in Botswana, which is one of the homelands, and we were pairing with Gloria Gaynor. And they asked, and they asked us to put a band together to tour the country because we were interested in really seeing what the country was all about. So we put together this band. It was a mixture of Zulus, Bedes, Swana, and Sutu musicians, 8 of them. And we toured South Africa. We toured every township from Zululand, which is on the east coast of the Indian Ocean, the east coast of South Africa, all the way around East London, Port Elizabeth, all the way to the coast, all the way to the Cape, all the way to Cape Town. It took us 6 months. And we worked every township. I mean, it was an amazing experience. You know, we stopped off at every town. We would go and visit. Old folks' homes. You know, because the thing about it, in those times, everything down there was segregated. You know, you had the colored townships, you had white townships, you had Indian townships. I mean, nobody lived together. You know, so we would go into.
They literally lived in their own townships, and they had their own places that they went to in their own shops. So I remember in your book, you said that some people couldn't go to a particular place.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that correct?
But we used to go visit. Like, we would go to mental homes for the children, right? And even they were separated. You know, they had a color one and a black one. So they were all having mental problems. You know, they don't know the difference. You know, but it was this separate thing that they promoted down there. It was you know, it wasn't going to last. You know, I mean, we used to tell. I mean, it was such a we were never political. I mean, because we're into music, we're not into politics.
Music.
Yeah.
Music is about uniting, right?
But I mean, we used to hang out with Africans. We'd hang out with colored, and you know, and we just try to explain to them. You know, you're all the same. Say, look, I'm light skinned, right? I'm black. I'm not colored. I'm black. You know, and they would say, no, you're colored. And the other 2 guys in my group were dark skinned. They're black and you're colored. I said, no, we're all black. You know, if you ever leave this country and go to America, you'll find out what you are. You know, I mean, it was a. As in time, these people they'll discover what's going on. They'll find out, and of course over the years it's happened like that. You know, I mean, we went back for the Yes vote, and we see all these people all together. It just brings tears to your eyes. You know, it was just totally amazing, right? But one of the beautiful things. One of the beautiful things you said in that time when you put this band together. Yeah. You had the Zulus. I can't remember what else you said. But years later, tell me the story again. Yeah. This is where it links to my dad, because, you know, my dad was in the music industry. Yeah, well. Jazz bands and rock bands. Yeah. And this particular group used to play to me all the time as a kid. Like, tell the story about. Put this band together. Okay. Well, the band that we put together, they lived in Soweto. Even though they were from different tribes, because they worked together, so they lived in Soweto. You know, once we put the guys together, and most of the guys lived in Soweto anyway. So and we used to go down to the house. They invite us down to the house. You know, we go down to the house and you know, sit with the families and things like that. They were really wonderful guys, you know what I mean? See, and the thing is that the government was telling us, they said, well, how much you paying these guys? How much you paying your musicians? Said we're going to pay them the same money we would pay musicians in England. I think it was about £30 a guy a show, something like that. And they said, well, you can't pay these guys that kind of money. I said, well, look, they're doing the same job. But if we bought a band from England, that's how much they get paid. We pay these guys the same thing because they're worth that money. Anyway, they agreed. So we paid them. We used to pay them, and they take them around the shops. You know, they used to go buy clothes. They say, Mr. John, you know, look at them shoes. I said, we got the money. Just go in and buy them. You know what I mean? You know, just, you know what I mean? And, you know, and they built up their confidence so much that these guys were I tell you how good they were. We used to tell them, say, listen, when we go into a gig, right, you play dance music before we go on, right? But you don't sing a note until we finish. Because they sang better than us, right? And I said, you don't sing a note until we finish. Right? After we finish, we don't care what you do. But before we go on that stage, you just play dance music, right? Anyway, after 6 months, after we were leaving, and we said, we got to take these guys back to England. I said, no, it was impossible. We just couldn't do it. Anyway, a few years later, I'm back home. Well, I'm not back home. I'm back in London. And my phone rang. And my wife picked up the phone and she says, oh, John, it must be one of your friends from South Africa because they said they want to speak to Mr. John. So I pick up the phone and I answered the phone. It was one of the musicians. He says, hey, Mr. John says, I said, how are you? He said, well, we were in London. I said, well, what are you doing in London? He said, oh, we're working at Royal Albert Hall. I said, doing what? He said, we're the Graceland band. Graceland band. And I just dropped the phone.
Graceland band, people, Graceland.
And I just dropped the phone and started crying. I just could not believe. I said, these guys got out. They stayed together and they got out. It made me feel so good. You know, I said, one thing that we did in our lifetime, we put together a great bunch of musicians and they deserved every accolade. Yeah.
I really felt emotional when I read that part in your book. And for those of you who don't know, John just said he put together the Graceland band. He couldn't get them out of Soweto because of apartheid at the time. He started with them at grassroots, and they went on to be the Graceland band. Are they Ladysmith Black Mambusa?
No.
Or are they known as the?
No, that's different. That's different.
Different.
Yeah, they're different.
They sang with Paul Simon. Is that right?
Yeah, they were Paul Simon's band. Yeah, Graceland band. Yeah.
Paul Simon. Okay.
Yeah, they work with.
Band.
They work with. They work with Paul Simon. I mean, some of the guys are dead now, but they worked with him for years. You know, they told.
Listen, John, I connected so deeply with that because my dad used to play the Graceland album every day. Like there's a particular song on repeat every day from a very young child, and I absolutely adore them. Absolutely adore them. And when I read that, my dad passed away a few years ago, but when I read that, it really just connected with me. And I thought, wow, if my dad was there and I could tell him that I was interviewing you and you'd actually put them together, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, they were great guys.
Yeah. Look, David here is saying, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that you didn't let sing until after you played.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, you know, all of those times, those experiences that I've experienced over the years, it just makes me. I think that's what drives me, what keeps me going. You know, I mean, like all the except for one of the members that's still living, all of the singers that I sang with over the years, they're all dead now, right? And so, like I speak for them, you know. When I was writing the book and I was thinking about, the times we spent together, the things we went through, and I asked myself one question. I said, if I had to do this all over again, would I do it all over again? I said, yeah. Even the good times, the bad times, I'd do it all over again because if I didn't do it all over again, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be able to talk to you now about what's going on, you know, about things like now. I mean, I've had very, very, very bad illnesses. I mean, I had an arthritis attack that crippled me for 4 years, but I never stopped working. I worked. I never stopped working. No.
Wow.
I refused. I just took anti-inflammatories, and I worked with a cane for about 2 years, but I still worked. I never stopped working. I never stopped touring. You know.
What keeps you going, John? Because you're 84 and you're touring, and like I said to you before when we were talking,
yeah,
I get exhausted when my phone rings or a lot, or if I do something in the day and the evening. How do you keep touring? That's night after night, and it's not just the socialization part of it. You're performing. You've got to put your heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
How do you keep going?
Well, I mean, the state of the world today. People need happiness. They need to smile. They need to be uplifted. You know, and any little bit that we do when we were on stage to help them people go through those few hours that night. I'd feel justified. But, you know, if I got a couple of aches and pains, I said, well, hell with that. You know, the show was great. The people enjoyed themselves. I'm just ready for the next one, you know, and that's what keeps me going. It's not, I mean, I stopped working for money years ago. It's not, this job, you know, what, in this job, of course, you got to get, you know, it's financially, you got to be financially successful, you know, you hope to be. But finances is not, it's never been the driving force for any artist, I don't think. I think it's, okay, egos play a lot of part in it too, but it all depends on how you use your ego. You know, you know what I mean? It's, you can take your ego, it can take you too far. You know, it's just how you control what you do. I mean, of course, ego keeps me going because I still enjoy the, you know, people applauding and things like that. But, you know, I mean, it's a job, basically. It's a job, but it's a job that I love doing. It's a job that I get paid doing all these years, you know. When I can put out a CD and I said, well, look, listen to these hit records I've had over the years, you know, it's gratifying, you know, that I've done that, you know, so.
And to see people enjoying it and there in real time, dancing and really just loving the music, I think that real dedication and passion, like hats off to you. This is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. There's so many other questions, but we're running out of time. So I wanted to ask you, tell us a story. One of my favourite chapters in your book is Bring a Bottle. Tell us a little bit about meeting Gladys Knight and what's your lovely wife, the great advice your lovely wife gave you.
I met Gladys Knight. Oh, Jesus. It must have been about 1980. We were working, my group, the Velours, we were working in Detroit in a club, the Schubert Theater. And we had just finished, and it was a knock on the door. And we opened the door and said, oh, this little girl was standing there. She said, oh, hello, can we come in? So this little girl came in and with three other guys. They said, oh, we're the Pips, and you know, we enjoyed your show. I said, thank you very much, you know. And they said, we hope one day that we could be stars like you guys. You guys are really good, right? So it must have been about 2 years later, we hear this song. I say, John, have you heard this song by the Pips? I said, in the group we met. No. And I heard this song. I just could not believe for me how great they were. And then we contacted them and said, listen, congratulations, you know, we got to get together sooner or later, right? And over the years that we were working in America, we never ran into them until they started working in England. When they started coming to England and we started hanging out, and we became very, very, very close friends, you know what I mean? And Gladys and Red, her cousin, you know, because, you know, the Pips are cousins, her brothers in the group, and the other two are cousins. And my son John was born in 76. He was born in 77. And they asked me and my wife if her and her cousin, if they could be Jamie's godparents, right? And they said, "Oh, we'd be delighted to. We'd be delighted, you know, if they would be grandparents, you know." But when they went back to Detroit, she left the group and went solos, and they never came back. And matter of fact, I never heard from Gladys again until she came over doing a concert must have been about 10 years ago. And she contacted, my son's name is John also. And the record company that the people he was working for was associated with the management from the Pips, and they sent us some tickets to come to see them at Royal Albert Hall. And I went there to see them. Me and my wife went to see them. And I was so built up inside seeing Gladys on stage for the first time without the guys, and I hadn't seen her as a solo artist. And then she asked her brother to come out on stage because the other two guys were dead then, and he came out on stage and they started singing some of the old hits, and he started doing all the choreography that they used to do as a group. And I could see the other two guys on either side of him, and I started crying, right? My wife said, "Shut up, you're embarrassing me. This is Royal Albert Hall." I said, "I don't care. I can't stop." So she got up and we left. We had to leave. So we never went backstage to see Glass and the brother, you know. It was such a shame, you know. But
no, you're too emotional.
Yeah, I do. I get emotional about this. I get emotional about music. I do. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, your passion shines through in everything. Just when you talk about music and just this, we've been speaking for an hour, and I could speak to you for like another hour and just hear all of these stories. It's fascinating. Your passion is just second to none. It's amazing. I've got other questions for you, but I really want to know where and when can we see you perform?
Sometime it'd be sometime in the new year, because the shows that we're doing now, they're like we're working out. See, ordinarily, we work as the Magic Platters, right? We do concerts all over the world. But with the lockdown for 2 years, we weren't working for 2 years, and there was a lot of backlog of gigs and stuff that they wanted us to do. Well, some of the singers that would sing with me then, they after the lockdown, they just lost heart. They didn't want to sing anymore. So I had to get together a whole new group of singers, especially the female.
You're well versed with that now, John, aren't you? 70 years of doing that, putting together bands.
Well, singing group, not band.
Groups. I was corrected earlier. They're not called a band, they're singing groups. I had it ingrained in my mind. The hardest singer. You know, with the Platters, we have a female singer, right? And the hardest singer to replace is the female singer. It's always been the hardest for us to replace. It's the female singer because she's special. I'll tell you what, John. I will practice, and when I'm ready, I'll come to you.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. There's a spot. There's a spot.
All right, I'm just going to read a couple of comments. I'm going to have to wrap up. I can talk to you all day. So there's more comments here. I want to. So Deborah says the world changing. They literally changed the music in the world. So I'm not sure if that was about the Graceland Band or whether that was about Gladys Knight and the Pips. I think it was about Gladys Knight. Oh, Yeshiva says, "Hi Danny and esteemed guest. Just jumped in. Could not miss a bit of this. The music industry from a black mogul must be told."
Yeah.
David said, "This has been brilliant, wonderful. Thank you both so much." Oh, David said, "I saw the Platters loads of times as teenagers." There you go. You got a fan.
Well, I mean, you can see us on YouTube. You can see us on YouTube. The Magic Platters. We're on YouTube, and you can
check out YouTube.
Well, you can see the Realistics on YouTube. You can see the Velours on YouTube.
You've also got a website here as well.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try and throw up here. Give me a second. It's
and of course, JohnCheatdom.com, our website.
Yeah, I'm trying to highlight that now. There you go, JohnCheatdom.com. So I'm highlighting that now. Go over there, find out more about John, find out more about his book. It's available on Amazon and all good retailers. It's out on the 29th of October. We're running out of time. We've got 8 seconds left. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. Please join in Wednesday, 7 p.m. GMT.
And once again, I got to thank you for having faith in me, putting the book out. Thank you. I was finished.
Well done, John. That's it. Yeah, it's finished. Yeah. Studio gone? He's still there. Well done, Danny. Well done, John. How was that? Oh, the sound. We've lost sound.
If you turn your computer off mute.
Yeah, it's back. It's back on now. Yeah.
Amazing. John says, thanks for this. Shiva says, thanks for this nostalgia. V, so you've been so instrumental in making this come together. You obviously put me in contact with John. I've been going back and forth with Veronica. Veronica is an author in her own right. Publishing a book is not an easy feat. You know, we didn't even talk about, you know, the process of you writing the book, John. But I mean, the process of actually what people might see as the boring nuts and bolts behind the scene of checking this caption, checking this image, and checking that. And it can be quite tedious. But V, you have been absolutely amazing. So I just want to give you a massive thank you. Can you say hello to our audience, please?
Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here this evening, and really pleased to be able to support John to bring his book to new audiences, and just to, you know this lovely gentleman. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much, V. Give your book a shout out.
Yeah, I have a book too on Amazon. It's called The Hysterectomy Chronicle. If you're interested and need to find out more about hysterectomy and fibroids, read that book.
Amazing. John, any last words from you?
Yeah, listen, anytime any of your listeners want to do a Q&A, any questions they have at any time, you know, because I'm a music historian also. So I have a podcast that I did during the lockdown. I did eight episodes where people would call in and you know, Q&A, ask me questions about anything. You know, because I used to teach classical music, so I'm a student of classical music also. So
how can people find you then, John? Should they go to your website, or do you have somewhere where they can follow you?
Yeah, the website or the website or the Facebook.
Facebook. So Facebook is the same, John Cheatdom, who I tagged in the interview on Facebook. Please do follow him, check him out. It's just brilliant. And thank you so much, John. Thank you. Here's the book. Come on, Keeping Doo Wop Alive. One man's story of strength, stamina, and survival as an international entertainer. How often do you read books from the grandfather of doo wop? This is 70 years worth of music industry ins and outs. We only just touched the surface of this, and like everything you've achieved, I think is just phenomenal. And I really want to come and see you perform. So please do follow John, check him out, get a copy of the book. It's out on the 29th of October. Join us next week where I'll be interviewing the awesome and amazing Oneness Sankara, whose book is called Word Sound. All right. So I have been Daniela Beckner, speaking to the awesome and amazing John. Say your name.
John Cheatdom.
Okay.
The grandfather of doo wop.
Yes, the grandfather of doo wop. There you go. If you don't know about doo wop, you need to check it out. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.